Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Training Industry Learning Tech Showcase AI in Training, sponsored by BizLibrary, Box of Crayons, Is Easy, SweetRush, and Steer Tech Solutions. So I'm Liz Fate, the Events Marketing Specialist here at Training Industry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us here today. Again, before we get started, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speakers and get the most out of today's program. So it seems like a lot of you have, but if you haven't, open up those chat windows and let us know where you're joining us from today. As I mentioned, I am broadcasting live from chilly Raleigh, North Carolina, and it is a pleasure to have you with us here today. Feel free to use this chat for any comments as well as questions. This session will be very interactive, so please do not hesitate to plug those questions throughout for our speakers to address during their session. And once the session ends, you should receive a brief survey in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback on the session as well as the speakers. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us that will include the link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. Now, if this is your first training industry event, we would love to welcome you. We exist to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's showcase, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, our podcast, and our membership. We would also love to hear about what you learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us to continue that conversation. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our first speakers of the day. We have Danielle Silver, the Solutions Architect here at SweetRush, and we have Adrienne Soda, the Director of AI and Immersive Technologies at SweetRush. And so with that, take it away, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so hi everyone, and welcome to our session today. Thank you for joining us. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll dive into the practical how of global AI transformation. Our goal is to share the blueprint that we used to transition a global workforce from uncertainty to AI fluency. By the end of this session, we hope that you'll walk away with a phased roadmap for upskilling, a look at how to use AI simulations to build confidence, and an understanding of the context engineering needed to keep your integrations secure and relevant. So before we dive in, a quick word about SweetRush for those of you who are new to our organization. We launched in 2001 and have been fully remote since 2009. We focus on performance improvement services, which embrace custom learning solutions, emerging technologies, staff augmentation, talent placement, and strategic consulting to really help our clients evolve their learning and development roadmaps. We're honored to receive numerous industry awards for the solutions that we develop with our amazing client partners. The reality is that the AI revolution isn't waiting for a formal rollout. Your teams are using AI in their daily workflows already, but without a structured framework, that organic adoption brings risks around bias, privacy, and data security. Our mission as L&D leaders is to move beyond just managing those risks. We have a massive opportunity to turn that informal usage into a strategic advantage by providing the right training and guardrails to make AI a safe, high-impact part of our organizational DNA. So to start our case study, let's look at the journey of one of our clients, a global leader in the architecture and engineering industry. This project was incredibly exciting for us because it allowed us to create a successful blueprint for a challenge that is truly universal. They recognized the immense potential for AI to drive innovation, but they also faced a multifaceted set of hurdles that will likely feel very familiar to you. Beyond the standard concerns of data privacy and algorithmic bias, they had to navigate an rapidly evolving landscape, keeping pace with accelerating advancements and, of course, the technological complexities that come with that. This was further complicated by diverse workforce readiness, so balancing varied staff beliefs and differing levels of technical expertise across global teams. This diversity in skill and mindset often makes widespread adoption feel just out of reach. Throughout this session, we'll show you exactly how we address these challenges to turn them into a distinct strategic advantage. So to address a lot of these challenges, we designed a two-part learning experience with the goal of balancing broad literacy with deep role-specific mastery. So part one focuses on building that strong foundation through interactive modules that really break down the essentials. What is AI? How does it work? What are some ethical considerations? What are some best practices that I should keep in mind? This ensures that everyone starts on the same page, regardless of their technical background. Part two then moves into role-based training, where teams explore the specific tools most relevant to their daily work. It's about moving beyond theory to help employees streamline their own personal workflows and turn that knowledge into immediate action. So we began with a deeply intentional analysis phase because building AI capability isn't just a technical rollout. It's about leveraging AI as a transformational force. So whether an organization already has a mature strategy or is starting from scratch, we meet them where they're at by auditing and analyzing the landscape. We do this through stakeholder interviews, reviewing current AI guidelines and approved tool sets, and we layer those with learner empathy interviews in our co-design process. This allows us to really co-create unique AI principles that aren't just generic best practices, but are grounded in the organization's specific culture and operational reality. From there, we translate these high-level principles into mental model shifts. These represent the mindset and the behavioral changes that are required to move beyond policy and ensure that teams genuinely embody these new ways of working. This is how we ensure that AI isn't just another tool in the belt, but rather a sustained shift in how the enterprise operates. So here you can see concrete examples of mental model shifts. It's not just enough to tell people about AI tools or policies. To truly affect change and encourage new behaviors, we must understand and address the underlying attitudes. For example, how do we move someone's mindset from, I'm apprehensive that AI will make my role redundant, to, I'm confident that AI technology is a tool that I can use to enhance my role? Or from I'm concerned about AI's reliability to I really understand AI's capabilities and limitations. By grounding our entire learning framework from the modules to the practice simulations in these mental model shifts, we ensure that the training directly cultivates those exact behaviors that you're wanting to see. This strategic foundation is how we guarantee teams don't just learn about AI, but truly embody the organization's vision for its responsible and impactful use. So here let's look at the learner journey itself, which scales from foundational literacy to confident fluency and ultimately that role-specific mastery. We begin by establishing a consistent baseline of AI literacy across the entire organization, ensuring everyone understands the what and the why. As we move from these foundational modules into role-specific mastery, the training becomes highly practical and tailored to daily workflows. This progression ensures that employees don't just understand AI in theory, but they develop the hands-on confidence to apply it directly to their unique tasks and workflows. Woven throughout this journey are AI-powered features that create opportunities for learners to practice, build confidence, and adapt the experience to their needs. By phasing the rollout this way, we bridge the gap between initial awareness and that high-impact everyday application. So in the next few slides, we'll talk about each of the program's key features, starting with human-centered design and storytelling. So we really wanted to anchor the experience with introductory videos featuring honest reflections from actual employees. We wanted to showcase everything from excitement to skepticism to really build that trust and honor where each employee is in their own personal AI journey. And then to make the learning highly relatable, we used contextual case studies from the architecture and engineering industry. For example, the scenario on your screen follows the story of a bridge collapse, and throughout the course, learners are tasked with using AI to assist in the reconstruction efforts. This moves beyond abstract technical instruction, allowing the learners to see exactly how responsible AI use solves high-stakes, industry-specific challenges in a way that feels authentic to their profession. A key feature of this program is an ever-present AI chatbot that acts as a just-in-time learning coach. So instead of a one-size-fits-all experience, learners can ask for guidance, they can clarify complex concepts, or request deeper information exactly when they need it. This creates a highly personalized path, meeting each person where they are. So, whether someone is a complete beginner looking for a basic definition or an advanced user exploring a specific use case, the chatbot tailors the experience in real time. It moves the learning from what might have been a static course to a dynamic, supportive environment that builds confidence through immediate, relevant feedback. And then to truly bridge the gap between theory and mastery, we integrated AI-powered simulations for that dedicated prompt engineering practice. And what makes this particularly effective is that we integrated these simulations directly with the organization's own AI infrastructure, tapping into their secure instance of ChatGPT. So this means that learners weren't just practicing in a vacuum. They were refining their prompt writing skills within the actual environment that they use for their daily work. So these scenario-based practice environments, they provide that safe space where learners see immediate dynamic results. It's a hands-on application where change resilience is actually built. Here we move beyond just understanding what a prompt is to developing the practical confidence to use AI effectively in real-world situations. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Adrian to share more about the back end that underpins the chatbot and the simulation features.
Thanks, Sunny. This is quite an interesting project to work on. I wanted to share a little bit on what goes on behind the scenes. So, in addition to the creative direction and UI UX development, AI-powered learning content fundamentally depends on three key components for effective learning engagement. Those are the AI foundational model that you're going to be using, the context engineering you're going to be creating, and the comprehensive learning design. Usually, organizations leverage advanced large language models such as Google Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Cloud, or Microsoft Copilot as the foundational processing base. However, these models cannot be implemented in their default state, as they tend to produce generic responses. We also have little control on how they work, and they may not align with specific organizational needs or workflows. To address this, we employ a strategy known as context engineering. This approach involves tailoring and guiding foundational models using information that's relevant to the organization and its training objectives. By doing so, we ensure the delivery of relevant content, authentic learning experiences, and actionable feedback. The learning design component remains equally critical, as our instructional designers determine the most effective methods to achieve the project's educational goals. Together, these three components provide the foundation for the successful delivery of an AI-driven solution. Context engineering uses components such as knowledge bases, prompts, and retrieval augmented generation to prime those foundational models with data that helps it support the learning experiences. For this project, to create a solid knowledge base, we used existing information the company had in the form of videos, PDFs, and so on. For the prompts, our instructional designers worked alongside the client to create them. And finally, our developers used both components as part of the RAG system that eventually powered and controlled the experience. The large language model that we used was an instance of one of the foundational models mentioned before that was already integrated as part of the client's AI infrastructure. And together, our context engineering and the client's LLM made all the AI components in the project run smoothly. Back to you, Annie.
Thank you. Excuse me. All right, and then lastly, moving into that role-specific application, we wanted these modules to be deeply relevant and immediately actionable. So once a learner has covered that foundational content, we then shift the focus to how can AI help you save time and add value to your specific workflow? So whether you're a project manager or a structural engineer, the platform presents tasks tailored to your daily work. For a project manager, this might mean using AI for planning and scheduling, risk assessment, or maybe action tracking. We don't just list these tasks, but rather we provide actionable prompt examples that learners can copy, refine, and use in their own workflows right away. So by focusing on these common high impact tasks, we move from what is AI to here is how I use AI today. This hands-on exploration encourages people to experiment with their actual tools, building the confidence and the tangible skills needed for immediate impact. And so to wrap everything up, the summary captures the key pillars of the project. We started with a human-centered foundation and storytelling to make the journey relatable. We then bridged the gap to performance through interactive practice and role-specific applications, ensuring the training provides a tangible impact while remaining in the flow of work. The crucial takeaway here is that while these features drive the user experience, they are all powered by a core engine, the integration of strong learning experience design, sophisticated context engineering, and the organization's own robust AI infrastructure. By placing AI at the center of this architecture, we've created a system that doesn't just teach technology, it uses technology to evolve alongside the learner. So nearly a year since its launch, we've seen a measurable impact on performance in this organization. Those who completed the training use their proprietary GPT longer, and they report higher time savings than their peers. And despite being completely optional, the program sparked an AI community of practice that grew to hundreds of active members, fostering a self-sustaining culture of innovation. Ultimately, the training set the tone for a thriving AI ecosystem. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. We know that navigating this AI transition is a challenge that many of you are currently facing in your own organizations. And we hope that these insights from our global rollout provide a helpful blueprint for your journey. We're incredibly passionate about the intersection of learning and advanced technology, and we would be delighted to continue the conversation. So please feel free to reach out if you'd like to dive deeper into any of the strategies that we discussed today. And lastly, I did want to share that Adrienne and I will be hosting another webinar on March 12th, focused on the data-driven future of adaptive learning, and we would love to see you there. And so with that, let's open up the floor to your questions and comments. I think we have about 10 minutes to go through some of those. Adrienne, I'm sure you've been answering some in chat as well, but let's see if there are any that we can answer live today. All right, let me find the Q&A. Did you see any in chat, Adrienne? I'm not seeing any in the
No,
Q&A
not really.
here. No questions. Okay. Well, feel free to pop your questions in now. We have a few minutes and we'd be happy to answer them live. Alternatively, reach out to us and we're always happy to have a conversation.
I always like to give people a couple minutes because
I
I know
know, I
sometimes the
know.
questions are long paragraphs, so no worries there. And with that, David's already popping in with questions, so I'm gonna creep back into the back end.
Perfect. I see
Uh,
one here for Adrienne. So do you have an AI agent built around your own content?
no, since we're custom content creators, we usually will build them for our clients and based around the necessities of the specific projects. We do have some, but are more for internal uses around productivity and content creation.
All right. I see another question here from David. So what were the employees' attitudes pre and post implementation? So employees may feel that AI is taking over their job, for example. So when we ran the interview, the empathy interviews, we saw a range of attitudes, as you would in any organization, particularly one that is global, particularly one that has a multi-generational audience. So we heard from people that were nervous, that were apprehensive that AI might take over their jobs. So that created some hesitancy around embracing AI tools. But we also saw a lot of people that were excited about the potential. Maybe they didn't know where to start, but they were intrigued and open to diving in. So we saw a lot of different attitudes. And so really the goal of the course was to provide people with the foundational knowledge and also that confidence to go off and use AI in their jobs. And we did see a lot of those shifts in the implementation post. So whether that's through the community of practice or whether that's seeing an increased usage of AI and longer time spent using their proprietary GPT. So really interesting to see that shift. But there'll always be a mix of attitudes when we're dealing with these large global organizations.
So there's an interesting question regarding which foundational model is best. That's a difficult one to answer because it's constantly changing. We've had many AI-driven projects by now, and there's no one foundational model that we default to. Usually, what our strategy is, we create the components. Everything's like component based, so that allows us to extract and switch and plug in whatever model we think is best. Today, if we were to do another project right now, we probably would default to Opus from Anthropic. That's a pretty powerful model. But again, it depends on what's best in a particular moment in time, also the project's needs. I think that the key factor here is testing and looking at the answers, and that ties to the other question of what specific prompt styles we find more effective. What we do is come from the learning objective, start adding different types of prompts, and then based again on the model selection and the output, that's when we start like either shaping it through different prompt styles or switching to a different AI foundational model. So there's a lot of iteration. And there's this, you could also do a webinar around the job the instructional designers have in the assessment and validation of information and how to shift from one prompt style to another or swap AI foundational models. But that's part of that secret sauce of that, or that capability that you need to develop in order to create these types of projects.
And then there's a question here from Heather about prompting styles. And I think through the prompt engineering simulation, the question is around how do we write an effective prompt, and have we found a methodology that allows us to generate better responses? And so what we designed the prompt engineering simulation to do is that we gave learners very specific scenarios. So if we link it back, for example, to the bridge collapse that we saw earlier on, learners are now tasked with using AI to plan the reconstruction of that bridge and mitigate any risks to wildlife that might be living in that area. So people can come in and practice using prompts related to that scenario. Through the AI coach, they then get very specific feedback on the strength of their prompt. So it might tell them, your prompt is a good start, but try adding more context, try adding more specificity, adjust your prompt this way. So we've woven in a prompt engineering methodology into the back end, into the knowledge base that Adrian was sharing about earlier, so that when learners get their feedback, not only are they practicing impactful prompt writing, but they're getting that in the moment adaptive feedback as well.
Can you talk more about the communities of practice? So
yes. Oh, okay, go ahead. I'll add to yours.
Okay. Oh, I interrupted. Do you want me to jump into that one?
Yeah, go ahead, and then I'll add some color.
Okay. So specifically when it comes to project, I see today that the involvement of instructional designers and learner designers is more throughout the lifespan of the project, working together with the developers. So there's a shift to like instructional designers handing the torch to developers to more let's work together, because there's a lot of iteration going on and a lot of validation and a lot of improvement. And also, if the project provides feedback, or you're doing something like knowledge tracing or learner insights that are fed into the project again to create dynamic content, that makes it even more important to have that interaction between the instructional designers and the developers. Of course, there are the creative directors and project managers involved and all that, but particularly speaking, I think that interaction between IDs and developers is essential.
And it's an evolution on how the project team works together and the dynamics of the learning and development team. But on the other side of it, as it comes to the learners itself, when it related to the communities of practice. So in this organization that we just presented the case study, as learners finished the program, they were invited to join a community of practice. It was completely optional. And so they could join whether it was a Slack channel or whatever platform they were using, where hundreds of people joined. And here people were able to share best practices. If someone had a question, they could post it in the chat and get some feedback from their peers. And then every month, they also hosted an optional not a webinar, but rather just a connect where people could join and talk through what's worked for them that month, what hasn't, lessons learned, how to evolve their AI practice together. So although the original program that we created was completely asynchronous with the addition of the AI coach, this natural and organic community of practice grew out of it, creating that peer learning experience as well, which I think is really powerful and exciting to see. And I think that goes back to the attitudes that we spoke about a little bit earlier, in that people are excited, people are ready to embrace AI. There is a readiness there and a maturity there. It's just about giving them the knowledge and the skills to do so, and then creating a place for them to continue to grow together with their peers. All right, a couple more technical questions. Maybe I'll throw to you, Adrian. There's one about Microsoft Copilot Prompt Coach. Can you tell me a little bit about how this would be different? I'm not sure what this is, though.
Well, I think if you want to do an analogy, this could be powered by Microsoft Copilot. There's a great deal of customization here. The list of learning objectives here was a little bit extensive. So it had to be more specifically tailor made, more customized than what you would probably get from working with a prompt coach from Microsoft Copilot. We are doing something similar to what we presented here. It's been interesting trying to implement Copilot with it. But again, it's also something that happens on the back end and not necessarily such in like a front end way as prompt coach.
And one of the key features that we spoke about from this program was the integration of the experience with the organization's AI infrastructure. So in this case, they were using ChatGPT, and so in the back end, everything was linked to ChatGPT. So learners were actually practicing their skills within that environment. As Adrian mentioned, for another client that we're working with now for an AI upskilling program, their AI ecosystem is more embedded with Microsoft. And so we're integrating Copilot in the back end as the engine that's powering a lot of the AI coach or the simulations, for example. So we're sort of LLM agnostic, and we'll build the experience depending on what your AI infrastructure looks like, because we want to create a program that is really relevant to the learners and really actionable, so that as soon as they're done with the modules and the program, they can go off and actually use AI within your infrastructure. And that was really one of the goals here as well. Let's see. I think there's one last question here. Adrian, not sure if you have any thoughts about Notebook LM and whether we're using it. David is using it for podcast development, and he's curious, and he's also using it for a knowledge base within a course.
Well, I think it's a pretty cool, pretty good tool. Where different people in SweetRush use it, especially for your own training purposes. this is different when you're doing something like what we shared in this project because of again the specifics and the level of customization that's required. Usually, how we connect to foundational models and how we make everything work on the back end is through API because there's also all the AI governance and legal aspects and copyright infringement and intellectual property that you have to be very, very careful of. And that's on, at least today, that's only achieved through API connections and more specific ways of connecting all the different components that we mentioned, as opposed to using a front-end tool like Notebook LM.
All right, you're welcome.
Sure.
Any other questions? We have about 1 more minute before Liz jumps back on to kick us off here.
As I say, I can just jump on just to be here. I was gonna say, this was a lovely presentation, amazing questions. I guess, is there any advice, feedback, comment that you would like to leave with the audience today before we head on to our first break?
I guess just to share that, these challenges are not universal. This is something that we're all facing together. AI is changing the way that we work, the way that we as L&D professionals are facing our clients, our projects, our programs. And so it's really important to remain adaptive and to continually stay on top of the trends. The technology is changing every single day. And with that, it's unlocking very new and exciting ways for us to engage our learners and to create more impactful learning experiences. So thank you for having us and for your thoughtful questions. And I hope to continue the conversation together.
Beautiful. Any last words, Adrian, or just a lovely goodbye?
No, thanks so much for the questions. I think that's our favorite part.
I agree. I agree. No, the questions were great. And so thank you both so much. It was a great way to kick off the event. And now the party started, and we have a long day ahead of us. So for everyone else, we will be taking about a 15-minute break. Up next, we do have Stefan for their session sponsored by Is Easy, Instructional Intelligence, AI Speed, Automatic Course Creation with AI Autopilot. So again, in a moment, I'm going to end the session. You can join our next session by returning to the event lobby and going to the session tab. I hope you all stick around for our next session, which will begin shortly. See you all soon.